Hi, students. I wanted to give you a couple other tips for reading poems. The first one is start with the literal. And what I mean by that is a lot of times students, when they see a poem on the page, they immediately start to think that everything is a symbol for something else and none of this is really happening. And I think actually a more productive way um, to explore a poem is to start with what the poem seems to say is literally going on, um, and sort of work from there to figure out what sorts of feelings or impressions is the poet trying to evoke in us when they tell us what's going on. So both the Oranges and My Papa's Waltz are good examples of poems to approach this way. In My Papa's Waltz, we'll be discussing this week, Rethke seems to be revealing some very complicated feelings about his dad. So My Papa's Waltz is a confessional poem, which means that the poet, Theodore Rethke, has been sort of public about the fact that it's really about his life and it's really about him and his dad waltzing. So sometimes people say, oh no, that waltz is really a beating or it's something else. Um, but actually, he is talking about waltzing with his dad, but he's using that waltz to reveal to us how maybe complicated and challenging the relationship was. In Oranges, a lot of you will notice the Oranges is a very simple story about a boy going on his first date when he was 12 years old. So a good place to start in exploring it is just with thinking about the story of the poem. What happens in the poem? What would you tell one of your siblings if they said, what's that poem about? So starting with sort of what literally happens before, during, and after in the poem is a great way to begin to explore a poem. Then you can think about, why is he telling this story? How does he feel about it? What does it mean to him? What is he trying to convey to us with this story? And all of that can be really rich. So start with the literal. Don't assume everything's kind of a symbol or a metaphor. Just start with what's real in the poem. What's literally going on? And then we'll work from there. That usually yields helpful insights. The other big tip I have for reading poetry is to follow the punctuation. So one of the things about poems that can be kind of confusing and intimidating to people is that they're broken up into lines. And where the line ends doesn't seem to necessarily make any sense. So this doesn't look like a regular paragraph, this poem Oranges on the page. And so often we don't know how to kind of deal with the unusual way it's written on the page. I would recommend, as you start to read poetry, that you read the words on the page as if they're regular words written in a regular way, and then use the punctuation to help you. For example, the first time I walked with a girl, I was 12, cold and weighted down with 2 oranges in my jacket. So read that as a sentence. Don't worry about pausing at the end of the line. Just follow the punctuation like you would if the poem was written in paragraph form. And then later we'll talk about why poets make the choices they do about where to end a line. But I think in terms of understanding a poem or working your way into a poem or exploring a poem, a good way to begin is to, pause when there's a period or a comma, but generally speaking, just avoid worrying about the line breaks too much. Just follow the punctuation. All right, those are my 2 tips.